sport.
Yes,
Like all of
it
them.
is.
Like all of them are.
Well, fishing's a lot cheaper.
Tennis is probably the cheapest.
Jogging.
Correct.
Jogging
You wear
is
out
the
shoes.
cheapest.
You wear out shoes.
Yeah, but
My
shoes are
lard
like
ass.
50 bucks.
So,
I mean,
oh
it's
no,
like
you gotta get those top of the line Reeboks.
I know. I jog in flip flops. I don't know why I keep fucking hurting my feet, but
why don't I have any arches? Where have my arches gone?
I have to sleep with my shoes on and make sure my arches don't collapse. I gotta stuff the arches with socks and tie my shoes on real tight.
Isn't that what happened to Gary? Is that arches collapse?
Yes, I think so.
How does that happen?
Right,
How does that happen to somebody? That's weird.
It happens to everybody.
Weird.
It happens to a lot of people. It started to happen to me with my foot. I got my foot run over. And
well, that's not a collapse. That's called a foot crush. That's called you had a rodeo bull run over your foot.
It was a car. Anyways, let's get going. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Tonight we're tackling one of the oldest and deepest questions humanity has ever asked. What is good and what is evil? Are they real forces in the universe or just labels we have invented? We're cutting past religious doctrines and getting to the science of philosophy and the hard truths about good and evil. So that's my side of it. Of course, Anthony has his, which maybe he could enlighten us a little bit.
Sure, I like that first. Define the terms. What truth is. What good and evil are. I'd also like to look at the biblical version of good and evil, and take a logical, clinical look at what these terms mean. And what is sin? What is evil? What is good? And what is bad? And the biggest thing you have to do before you have any discussion is to define what you're talking about. And most people, if you ask them what good was or evil was, they couldn't tell you. So that's probably where we should start off. Defining the terms and then arguing about, or just discussing about the intricacies of those particular how they implement them and how they work in reality, not just in some made up fiction.
Right. And I kind of did a little bit on that, and what I did is, I'm trying to get to whether good and evil are objective realities. Like there's like gravity type good and evil.
There is.
Is the case that good and evil are subjective constructs that only humans experience? Are they psychological? Are they evolutionary? Then I kind of thought about a little bit about how good and evil might evolve if they are real things. But first, I guess we need to define, like you said, what good and evil is. And I mean, that's a hard subject. It's a very hard subject. I think I can simplify it a little bit. And it's if you take out the messiness of human minds and actually stick with reality, it's not that difficult. And in order to define good and evil, you have to define sort of what our existence is, I guess in a way. Where to start from? Exactly.
The source. Where I'm going to start from the source of good and evil, and that way we can define it, and how it got into our system to begin with, how I believe it did. And
right, and that's all we're doing. Just to clarify, before we go any further, that's all we're doing is we're discussing terms and things of good and evil in these very broad topics of the nature of the universe, but we're not experts. We're not religious leaders. We're not scientists. These are just our opinions, and
mine just happened to be correct.
But Tony is, of course, always right, which is why he is, always achieving.
Friendless. Actually, I have a lot of friends, but they're all opinionated too. Yes.
Tons of friends, but none of them like me. I have the same problem.
Yeah, they want to listen to me. They just don't want to hang around me too long. Might get on them. Anyways, what I need to start with. Well, basically good and evil. In my terms, in terms of a large portion of the world is good and evil, and sin. They're not necessarily the same thing. Sin and evil, not necessarily. They're similar. They're not the same. But they're not the same. But in terms of us define things good and evil and sin according to the Bible. That's how Western cultures. There's no concept of good and evil without. Otherwise, it just becomes a. You have to determine first before you do anything. Do we have free will? What and why do we have free will? And if there is a free will, then good and evil automatically come into play. If we're automatrons and we're just bags of chemicals, we can't make decisions. We're just computers. Then good and evil doesn't exist. Only through how should I say it? Our ability to make decisions and have our own capacity. Do we have good and evil? And I theorize that we have good and evil simply because. And the reason we fell out of grace, per se, if you're a Christian philosophy, is that in order for us to have a relationship with our Creator, we have to have agency, and we have to be able to love each other and love Him back. And that creates the necessity to have free will. Free will necessitates automatically good and evil. Because in order to make a decision, there has to be options. If all the options are good, then you have no options. In order to show your agency, you have to. Yeah, then you have no choice. And then there is no good and evil. I believe we have choice. So from a creation point of view, we have a creator that's God, and I believe we do. We could get into how free will came about, and why do we have free will? And did God create evil? That's the things we can talk about. Does evil even exist?
If God, whether He directly made it, you've already basically, in my opinion, have kind of singled it out as He did. Because what you're saying is God made the world, and He wanted us to have a relationship with Him and have free will. As soon as He instituted that, then He's instituting the flip side of that. And so,
what is the flip side of that?
If He wanted us to be able to choose between good and evil, and love and no love, then He's creating both.
No, actually, he's not creating both, because he can only create two. Only through our absence of knowledge. We don't make the proper decisions. And not making the proper decisions causes us to err. When we err, that's called sin. In other words, we're not doing the greatest good. We're sinning. Sinning is not a thing. It's the absence of a thing. It's the absence of good, which is true. In reality. Functional reality is all true. Like lying, and stealing can be a thing. But lies don't exist in reality. They only exist in our minds. So our minds get corrupted. And that's where for example. If you go back to the stories of the Bible, where Adam and Eve are in the garden. Satan comes up to him and says, "Hey, Eve, try this thing. If you try this thing, God's lying to you. If you try this thing, you'll know everything." Now, at that point, did we know everything? All we knew was good. So by creating the thoughts in our head of good and anti-good, reality and anti-reality, took our pure discernment to distinguish between the two. So we got thrown in their quagmire of mud and nonsense. We couldn't differentiate between truth and unreality. And unreality is basically evil. There's no evil that isn't. It's just destruction. Destruction is anti-reality. And so that's where I believe.
But
exists.
That's still, so matter, antimatter. Antimatter is still a thing, and it's
not to us. It isn't.
Well, antimatter exists in our universe.
Oh, what's the last time you touched something?
Obvious. We have synthesized it. It does exist. It annihilates everything that it touches, and so it doesn't last long in our
and that's exactly what it annihilates matter. It is a non-existence. What happens after matter and antimatter touches is nothing. It's not existence. So evil in its very nature is not a thing. It's entropy in a thermodynamic situation. You have a machine that's running perfect, except for there's entropy, this leakage of energy, and sin is basically leakage of energy within a system, and it's unreality, it's lies, it's falseness, it's death,
but that is still a thing created by God.
No, it's not.
Hold on 1 second. We're Mark we got a guy saying that you have an echo. Does Tony still have an echo? Okay, it's gone. Okay. So
yeah, I had to reboot it. It was okay. Well, I'm just started, but you can go ahead and go on with your side of it.
Well, because I want to refute some of your things.
Okay.
It is again. I hear what you're saying, and I agree with your all of what you're saying except up to one certain point. That if God instituted the choice between good and evil, truth and lies, he's still the creator of both. You can't let him. You can't create an unreality. Of course, that's your opinion, and I think he's made the light, he's made the dark. From nothing, he made something. And he's responsible for life and for us dying. Everything that in the universe that exists, all the good and all the bad, including Satan himself, would be creations now, did he say Satan be evil? No, he made and I believe that he had to make evil because, like you said in the beginning, if you do not have the opposite, then you have nothing. And so if he created the universe, he has to create it in such a way, in my opinion, that there would be a good and a bad, so as to make people be able to choose without negative consequences. There's no way to test people to make them good.
Of course,
if you don't have,
but in the end, he didn't create the non-reality. It was the non-reality was.
But I don't agree with that. I don't agree that death is definitely negative, at least from my perspective. Murder, all sorts of horrible crimes. They are objectively true things that happen. Crime, murder,
but they're crime, and they're objectively, you can view a negative as the consequences of the negative, and that's what you're viewing. You're viewing the action that causes the consequences of the negative. And so still an individual being had to decide to go against nature and destroy things with its own free will.
So when a lion eats a zebra,
and but we're not talking about a lion eating a zebra.
It's still objectively, I mean, it's
lions
very
don't lie. You're talking about negativity versus truth. The lower animals are designed to have a symbiosis where they, the planet runs itself.
The planet has fallen out of symbiosis many times, and nearly wiped it. It has self-corrected. Maybe I wasn't there to see it, but
well, that's precisely why there has to be some sort of retribution or punishment in the long run for anti-truth, because the amount of entropy in the system would overwhelm the system itself. So there has to be.
That's what I'm saying is entropy is something that God created. It exists. It's a fundamental law of the universe, and it's
what is entropy?
Entropy is when things break down and revert to chaos.
Yeah, entropy is basically the leaking down of energy, and that's not created by God.
And order. No, that you don't. That's your opinion, and you're welcome to have that. But you can't prove that.
Where does energy go? Energy isn't destroyed or created. It's just.
I never said it did. I said that it's reverting back to chaos and disorder. That's what entropy is. And
what keeps things in order?
Life. I believe life.
Life?
Does that. Yes,
life.
I believe
What's
that life? Living organisms, living systems. I believe that those systems are. We build houses. We build planes.
For us, for example. Because we take reality and truths and build things, and when we ignore the truths, they fall apart.
I don't think it has anything to do with our current system is being run by devil worshippers. They're.
That's why there's so much pain and entropy in it.
But the system is still running. The system is still running. It's not.
But the goal of the system, with their goal, is not to run it better. It's to run it worse and run it into the ground. That's their goal.
Or run it to their benefit. But and
that's where evil comes in. Evil comes in when
I believe that's 100% evil.
When evil comes in, that's 100% negative and 100% not reality, 100% destroying things.
I just disagree with that. It is reality. It's just negative reality. It's
I believe it's unreality. I think when someone tells a lie, that's not entropy per se. It is negative to reality. It is not reality. It only exists in your mind. If someone tells you, for example, they're a trans man, and they're not.
Right.
The reality that matters is they're not.
But the reality is for there's several things that are true there. They do have a mind that is their thought. It doesn't cease to be, and they happen to be created by God. God could have.
Yeah, but God created you to make a wrong decision.
Yes,
you can make it
ask
wrong.
Why. You got to ask why.
Because I can explain why. Okay. Because in order to come back to the Creator and appreciate what you've been given, you have to have the ability to discern between truth and lies. And that's the Meyer win.
The only thing that we're disagreeing on is whether God set that system up on purpose or it's happenstance that it came from us.
No, I'm not. I actually believe He set it up on purpose.
Then He's the creator of good and evil.
He's the creator, but He doesn't directly create evil. He creates a being that is capable of evil and decides to do so.
He created a universe where evil is a thing that has to happen in order for there to be good. You have to have, in some other universe, there's the inverse of our universe where what we call antimatter is a what?
I said I don't know that for sure.
It's mathematically that's what everything says, is that there is a there could be, when the universe was formed, matter and antimatter annihilated each other until we got this universe. There could have been a universe that's the inverse of this, where only antimatter existed, but in that universe there could still be good and evil. And maybe it would be more evil than good, or maybe it would be exactly the same with the same ratios. But I do not. I think they are fundamental laws of reality, and that's, I guess, what we're debating is number one. Are these?
Well, that's the difference. Is I define evil as being a negative of reality.
It's a part of this reality, Tony. It exists in this 3D space, and the only so in your mind is it doesn't belong here. But then you also, your logic is saying that without it,
no, that you're speaking for me.
I'm explaining what I understand you're saying. You're saying that this is anti-truth, anti-reality, and yes, it's all negative. But yes, without it, we would not be able to choose between good and evil, and love God.
Correct.
So in my mind, you're defining something that is a necessary evil in our reality in order. See, it's like the simplest thing I can, I guess, point out, again, I've said this before, is you can't have a light without shadow. You can't have it. And so in order to appreciate the lights are on, there has to be also the inverse of that, which is it sucks when it's all dark.
Yeah, but dark is still dark.
Yes, and I'm saying
it's still anti-light. I mean, that's all I'm saying.
Yes, and I'm just saying that the only thing that we're disagreeing on isn't that. We're only agreeing or disagreeing on the fact that, is it a fundamental law created by God in order to have the universe? And you seem very, like, you find that almost like psychologically offensive that he would create evil, that you see God is only all pure good. And I think that,
well, I don't think that anything that is completely evil or death or negative or lies can exist. I just think that is a mode of destruction. I don't think it is an existence. I don't think there's an evil world, because it couldn't exist. If everyone was evil, nothing would exist.
I don't think and the same thing is true about a pure good world.
But there's nothing that is created out of evil. There's no evil thing. It's always evil going against the creation to tear it down. It's a form of negativity.
And there is essentially what I'm saying. There is no pure good thing. If everything was uniformly good, it would still not exist. It would be just as non-exist. The sun is not pure good. Try flying into it.
What you mean in relative to you or to the universe?
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I would
argue that's what we're arguing about. I'm arguing about the reality of the universe. You're arguing about how it affects you personally.
No, I'm not. That's very clear. You're trying to make it personal, which I don't appreciate.
I'm not trying to make it personal. You just did.
I am saying repeatedly that the universe cannot exist one without the other, positive, negative. The interaction between those two things make the universe. And so let's say,
show me how the negative makes something.
It's how does positive make something? Just pure positive. It's uniformly positive.
Matter
is not universally positive. It's actually made of positive and negative material. Protons and neutrons.
But the existence is positive.
But it's still comprised of positive and negatively charged particles.
Okay, show me anti matter where it exists in this
There
universe.
is antimatter, and I can't show you that. That's a retarded
It
thing.
exists for a millisecond. It exists for a millisecond
it's-
and disappears.
we have it stored. We actually have it stored in and you can look this up. We've been containing it for decades. It's just stored in magnetic fields, where it can't touch anything but itself. But that's not the point. Is there is more than likely Einstein. I mean, if we're basing it on anything from science, then Einstein argued that there would be negative matter, antimatter, and that it would have exactly the same properties as positive matter, except for when they got together, they would annihilate each other.
Okay, but so we don't exist. We don't exist as antimatter.
No, we exist as matter, but there is probably a mirror universe of our stuff that is in existence. We can't
and
get
probably
there
in that universe. In that universe, probably lies and destruction is what the universe is made of.
I think it would be exactly the same. I think that the law, in my opinion, it would probably operate the same way, because it's the opposition of forces. Let's say, for example, our universe is 51% good and 49% evil. Maybe that one would be 51% negative and 49 positive. I don't know.
I don't see how a tree that exists is 51% existence and 51% non-existence.
That's because you keep trying to, because you're trying to assign that that negative matter would be evil. The reality is that the tree is mostly empty space and mostly non-existent.
I'm not equating evil with negative matter. I'm equating it with non-existence.
I don't understand. What we're talking about is there a fundamental good and a fundamental bad, and are those things fundamental forces created by God, the creator of the entire universe? And when I look at it that way, I can only come to one thing. Things, as an example, if you don't punish things and you don't have obstacles, they don't evolve. So evolution itself is a direct consequence or life or whatever it is to negative forces adversely affecting living systems. So they get tougher. When you work out and you beat up your body and you damage your body, your body evolves to get stronger. It's when you take a baby and you put them through tough things.
I would look at that as not being negative then, if you're building yourself up.
I'm
talking about decisions, not physics here. I'm talking about when you make a decision that is
trying to determine whether good and evil are objective parts of reality, which I would argue that they are.
Well, that's what I'm trying to define what I believe evil is. Evil is the negation of reality, the destruction of reality. That is evil.
And I hear you. I agree with most of what you're saying.
What you're saying is, and I agree with you. What you're saying is that it's necessary for the improvement of our species to have a negation of reality to act as entropy against their existence, so they have something to struggle against. What you're saying.
And all I'm saying is that is God's plan.
I believe it is, but he didn't have to create the negativity. He created a being that created a negativity.
He create all of the universe? No matter how you cut it. If he
didn't create our decisions. He didn't create.
Isn't he omnipotent?
We have the choice.
Isn't he omnipotent? Isn't he omnipotent?
If you're saying we're omnipotent, that means we have no choice. You're claiming that
either God is all powerful and all knowing and knows what is going to happen when he puts into place a system, or he's not all powerful.
And the point is being what? I'm talking about our decision on reality and our interaction with sin, not his. I'm saying that
Well, we're not even talking. We're not even talking about sin. We're just trying to get to the point where we define if if good and evil are objective realities, and I think we both agree that they are. It's just who
yes.
made it, and you're
well, in the end,
and we're just
everything
going to
is
have to agree to disagree. I think.
well, and everything is everything is just wait. What we're arguing about is how we're defining the terms, and we're both agreeing on the subject matter. So
right. Well, and I think that to me it seems like when I think about it, I can't see how reality exists without if even if you give everyone free will, you have to give them opposites to pick from or choices to be made. If you made it uniformly one way, and he's the creator of everything, then you would not have the experience of being able to pick. And so in order for him to set up,
yeah, I understand that, and that's perfectly logical. But I believe, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me because they don't believe in God. But I believe that
Michelle says hi.
Hello, Michelle. I believe that Satan, which is the progenitor of evil, is basically a repository of all evil things. And without him, people wouldn't have a choice to make. And that is a function of our...
See, I will disagree with you there, and I'll make my argument. You can't fall out of grace. He was created good, created as the most powerful above all the angels, and was, tasked with the highest of tasks. And then he got arrogant and greedy and fell.
You know why he fell? Because he fell away from reality. He had a delusion.
And that's why I'm saying that he was not created. He wasn't created as pure evil. He fell to evil. And that's because
well, let me finish.
Pre-existing.
He didn't. He basically had this delusion, and he might have been created that way on purpose, where he thought he was equal to his creator, and anything that thinks they're equal to their creator is fallacious. So he had what I would call a lie in him, a falseness, death, and once that happens, he can't be part of the system that's running creation. He can't be in there introducing falseness and lies and anti-truths without everything falling apart. He had a function, and then when he was cast out, then there was a repository for all the evil things. Now we have a lexicon of decisions to make because we have the choice between what he presents and what God presents. And that way we have the ability to learn truth through trial and error. Now, say you're an angel. You're an angel, and God's told you what the truth is all the time. How are you going to be tough in a difficult situation if you don't have any discernment? You don't have the ability to sift through things and come up with truth yourself. You might fall away from God and become a fallen angel or something, right? You might rebel because you haven't been tried. So I think I believe this earth is a ground for trial and error type exercise to get us to become better at managing reality. And yes, we do need good and evil. We have to make a choice. Right. Hopefully we make the right choices.
The only difference that I have, or I guess thing that I don't agree with you in your statement, is whether that in your own things, when you're defining the fall of Lucifer, the idea that evil's pre-existing and he fell to it, or whether
I don't think evil was pre-existing.
I know
he fell away from the truth. I don't believe he was evil to begin with.
No,
was he designed to be arrogant? Yes, he was probably designed to be arrogant, and I'm sure God understood. Yes, and God understood.
And so God designed him. So even if no evil existed, and I believe
he still has free.
it
He
did
still has
exist,
free will.
right? But he could have designed him to be humble, since he designed him to be arrogant and fall away. It was a precondition of his existence, and whether he's the root of all evil and lies, or whether lies and evil existed and he fell to it because he was arrogant, it still comes
Well,
down
if you're
to,
going to oppose truth, what is your options? Your only option is to propose untruth.
fall away. And
Yeah.
but God could have made him humble. And so that's just the idea. Is the only thing that I would disagree with your view on it is whether goodness is essentially our fault, which is what you're saying. Basically, it's a outcome of our bad choices, or if it's a pre-existing thing that God created as a stumbling block to educate. And you believe in, what my understanding is, you have one side of that, and I'm taking.
I believe that you have free will. I don't believe
I believe we have free will too, but I believe in order for us to have free will, we have to have the choice between good and bad. And so the creator had to set up the universe.
There's varying degrees of bad. Like, you can make a bad decision, you can make a devastating decision, you can make an evil decision.
Oh yeah.
Evil means you.
And I feel like you almost,
all that is falling away from the ultimate good. And we are supposedly designed initially to be drawn to the ultimate good. In other words, there's only one answer to everything, any particular situation. We're learning in this realm, I believe that we're learning that there is really probably only one answer to every situation, but some things are less evil than others. What I mean by evil, less true. I want to make that clear, that I believe that lack of truth or inaccuracy or blatant lies is the origin of all evil. You can't have evil without convincing others of untruth. You can't. So that is the first thing that happens, is that there's people who hear untruths ignorantly and go along with it, who are manipulated, and there's people who are manipulating and know it's full of shit. And and that's the whole thing about in the Garden of Eden, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, is then they knew that they could use. So obviously it existed before, it existed before, and we weren't supposed to know these things. And what happened is then all of a sudden we knew that we could lie to people to get what we wanted.
And that's all I'm saying is, and essentially, that's all I'm saying, is that the good and evil. I was going to use that example next, but since you must have heard me thinking, but I was literally waiting to say that. But anyways,
it is chasing your tail, or the chicken and the egg, and I'm not omnipotent, so I don't know where it started, but I believe evil is a negation. I think
it's logical to accept that
of reality. Negation of reality is evil.
Right, and I don't have any problem with that definition. Anything that it's just in my mind, everything in order to function has to be good and evil at the same time. But there is no living being in this 3D space that can be pure good.
Yes, but if you were pure good, things would be better for you. I mean, it's just that's right. Something that we're not capable of, because according to the Bible, let's say, this whole realm is tainted with good and evil. And our job is, some of the things you have to actually do to survive, like running around and killing things in order to eat, is the way this particular place is set up. But you want to be able to do that as good as possible. You don't want to be eating your neighbors, because in the long run, you run out of neighbors, and the grizzly bears
not
get you.
unless they're deep fried.
So
if
that's
they're deep fried, then you got to eat them.
All things that are considered sin are negative towards society and you, and they're not just moral because they're creepy. They're bad for society. Because even if if you're looking at homosexuality, whether you believe in it or not, or you practice it or not, it is a dead end for society. Period. That's why it's bad. Not because it's immoral. It's because everyone would die if everyone practiced it. No one would have any kids. So obviously it doesn't work. It's against reality.
It's against well, it's not against reality. It's part of reality. It's against the human race, though. And if you did it for any length of time, you would end up with no humans.
So I consider that a negative. Call me old-fashioned, but I consider that not reproducing, and the average family now is having a quarter of a kid, whatever they're doing, that is not good. Okay.
No, but we engage in far worse things, and we engage in them all the time, which is war and stealing and
absolutely
and
yes.
And those are arguably worse, and society seems to creep on. Highs and lows seem to change, but it's definitely you didn't see the show, but it was a very interesting show, because it argued a lot of these things. There's a show called Game of Thrones, and everybody in the show, from their point of view, is doing, let's say, necessary evils. Each of the families is trying to preserve its family in the Game of Thrones, but they do absolutely ruthless things to each other. They love each other inside the family. They're doing whatever it takes to keep their family going, let's say. But outwardly, they are doing absolutely wretched things to each other, back and forth over time. And even the best of them does really terrible. Well, there's a couple of people who are actually pure good, and they just get killed. And they won't lie, they won't cheat, so they get beheaded. And so it's an interesting exploration of what we're talking about. So the most reprehensible people in the show are from, in a way, you sympathize with them over and over again from when you're viewing the show from their point of view.
Can't I just wait for them to explode or something? Like maybe the heads will blow up or something. If they're all evil, I feel bad for them, and I watch a lot of the history.
They're not pure
royalty.
Evil.
No, even the royalty is even not pure evil. I watch them, and they're just stuck into a situation where they have responsibilities, and they're going up against evil from the other side, and they want to keep themselves alive and the people around them alive, so that
that's exactly it. So as an example,
can I just read this real quick? This is what I posited this conundrum into Grok and my opinions about it, and this is what Grok came up with, and I'll just read it real quick. And it says, Satan as a receptacle for evil, enabling genuine free will. This formalizes Satan's role in allowing evil choices without God authoring them. Genuine free will requires the option for evil, the opposition to good, as choice without alternatives and illusionary support. Free will defense, human choice is enabled by external temptation. Satan's post-fall serves as a receptacle, embodiment container for all evil inclinations aggregated and influenced by free agency, choices without coercion. In other words, you have the right to choose properly and improperly now because of the existence of evil. And
right.
And
I agree with that.
Through deduction, free will requires evil options. Either good, God provides them directly contradicting his goodness, or via a secondary agent like Satan. God cannot provide all evil directly, so he uses an intermediary. Satan, as a receptacle, enables free will by hosting all evil choices, allows agents to select good or evil voluntarily. And that allows you to, in order to have a relationship with your maker.
That's what I was saying.
Yes, and that's pretty much what I believe. So Satan exemplifies evil availability, like a database with error logs, for example. We have a list of things that you can use to identify what's wrong. And the agent retains choice. In other words, you retain the choice to do evil or not to do evil, but you know both options. Quantitatively, the model is a decision tree with branches with good and evil and outcomes, where Satan's role increases branch entropy for true freedom. In other words, the entropy is the countermeasure to you making a bad decision so that you won't make that freaking bad decision again. You're pulled down and hurt and destroyed when you make bad decisions. For a short term, you might benefit, but in the long run, society does not benefit from, entropy type choices.
Right. And evil people trade on that all the time.
They're trading out the good of society for their advancement,
yes.
Unilaterally. Yeah.
Yes. So let's take another point of view on this. It is the idea that good and evil, and before I get into this, I'm prefacing that this isn't my opinion. We kind of just discussed my opinion. Tony and I just did. This is us talking about more like what many scientists believe, and so another possible view is good and evil as subjective constructs. The theory claims that good and evil are human inventions, labels we use, not forces that exist. Evolution shapes our instincts, culture shapes our code, and psychology explains why people do horrific things. Nature itself shows no signs of cosmic morality, only survival and indifference. And so
that is so much BS. That is so much BS. You look at
it doesn't matter, but we need to at least explore it a little bit for the sake of Richard Dawkins,
one of my favorite dead guys. Go ahead. Oh, is he still alive? Is he alive?
I think he's still alive. He's alive. Basically, his view is that there is no design, there is no purpose, there is no good or evil, only pitiless indifference. Sounds like a fun guy to. It sounds like
you want to go to a party at his house? Yeah, you want to go to a party at his house? I can't believe he hasn't killed himself yet. With that outlook, I have believed he has slit his wrist and just laid down in the bathtub.
Well, what was interesting, I seen him speaking to Jordan Peterson, and Jordan Peterson was debating the opposite side of this, and it came down to because he doesn't believe in religion, he doesn't believe in good and evil or any of that, and so basically Jordan Peterson was like, well, if that's the case, why don't you just move into like a different country, like a Muslim country, if it's all the same, and Christian values and these values of good and evil don't really matter, then where does it matter? Why not move to communist Russia, or any? And so basically,
Iran, Iran.
Yeah. Dawkins basically said that while he doesn't believe in it, he appreciates the outcomes of the things that people that do believe in good and evil and Christ and all that stuff, the outcomes he appreciated. So in other words,
he wants to eat from the tree, but he doesn't want
to do the hard work.
Yeah, he just wants to eat from the tree. And it works, but I don't like it because then, God's my boss. I don't like that at all. I'm in charge of me. I'm going to eat from that tree that's created from this belief system, But
Well, God's not
I'm
even your
above that.
boss.
I'm above that.
God's
Yeah,
not even our boss. God is giving you the option to live as He says, or not to live as He
Well,
says.
he's your boss, as in reality will dictate that you do the right thing. If you keep doing the wrong thing, you'll die and suffer. So that's
Right.
reality is your boss, and that is the creator is true, and reality is true.
And so
Our minds are screwed up. That's what
another guy that it was an interesting had some interesting thoughts on it is Nietzsche, which is he believes that evil is a human weapon invented by the weak to condemn the strong. And
By the way, he changed that opinion when he got older. He did. But at first, yeah, he was.
A moral relativism, what's evil in one culture may be good in another. To a certain degree, I guess you could say something like that. But ultimately, there are certain things that every culture, in my opinion, if you boil them down, I don't know of any culture that thinks this wholesale killing of your neighbors for no reason.
In order to have defense. Yeah, and that's moral relativism. In order to have relativism, you have to have good and evil. You can't say, well, it's relative to this from one country to the next. Well, how you're measuring it with good and evil. So they're just talking out the side of their head. What they're saying is they don't believe they should be responsible for good and evil, and that no one should question that, because you can morph it and change it according to your needs. You have morals for the moment, and that's what they want.
That does happen all the time, and that is evil.
Yes, it does.
I think
and it is.
I think that's what you see with Muslim. I think that's what you see in the Islamic tradition, where every version of Muslim hates the other version of Muslims, and each cleric has come up with their own set of rules, and nobody really agrees. That's a perfect example of relativism at practice. The reality is, though, there is a system of things that almost everybody would agree is good.
Yes.
You don't want to be killing anything for no reason, and
Correct.
and the reason should be survival. If something is trying to kill you, then you might have to kill it back. If you're going to starve to death, and the only way to continue forward is to eat some meat, then you got to do what you got to do. But if you're just killing a bunch of cows and leaving them out in the field for no reason, just to rot, then you're a fucking monster.
Yes, that's evil.
And so, one of the things I read when I was doing the research on this is that with no socialization, really, babies who can barely function in any capacity seem to have an innate ability for fairness and stuff like that. And
it only gets taken away when they're older. Yeah, it's basically, you can call that a divine spark. Kids that get along with each other until they're taught otherwise.
Right. And so, do I believe that good and evil has some subjective constructs in it based on your culture? Probably. But
sure.
Is there a fundamental reality that we can agree on that is more or less good and evil? I think so. I think that, like we were saying before, that there are certain things that basically are stumbling blocks in reality, or choices to be made between a positive and negative outcome for you and for your whole society, and we're facing them all the time. And if you did not have an option between good and bad choices, you would have nothing. And so,
and all morality, believe it or not, is based on one thing, and that's basically loving the creation, loving others. Because you can't have any morality without love. Without love, you get egomaniacy. In other words, you love you only, and loving others is the base of all morality. And Because we're a communal species.
I think there's even, I think you could take that a step further. I think the problem we're having, particularly when we're looking at things like transgenderism and stuff like that, and that this nihilism is a form of self-hatred.
Yes.
And so I think that you have to first be able to draw up the ability to like and love yourself, and then all
accept
the other
yourself the way you are. I've never had that problem, but some people I know they want to be someone else, and you got to accept who you are, and be happy with it. And if you can't do that simple thing, and it's usually because someone has abused you or made fun of you or hurt you, but as you said, leaving kids alone with themselves without any influence from adults, they won't hurt each other. They might slap each other or something, but they won't psychologically hurt each other. And that comes from training and vengeful behavior because someone hurt you. And
right,
yeah,
I think you can be badly damaged just by the existence itself can be quite damaging, and that can lead to some self-loathing.
Sure. Especially if you don't have anyone who gives you a hug and tells you you're going to be okay, and no matter what you do, I'm going to be there. I might admonish you and punish you, but I'll always be there for you. People need that, and they need to have someone to depend on. And if they don't have that, then they get internally focused and become narcissistic. And I had a lot of attention from my father and my mother and my grandmother when I was young, so I didn't suffer from that. But a lot of people, they don't get enough attention because their parents become too selfish, and they just think about themselves and what they want. And the kids are just.
I had the same parent as you. I didn't see him for 10 years, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, what happened? The reason I seen him, as you know, is my mom passed away, and I was the only person in his life. Once that changed, which was 3 or 4 years, then he was focused on his career and his new wife, and I wasn't that much in the picture anymore.
Right.
But that happens.
Right.
It was sort of a fortunate thing because I had a grandmother that was watching me every day too. So.
But ultimately, what the people that seem to be labeling evil as just a construct of human society
from your position, your point of view.
Yeah,
no, that's bullshit.
They are very adverse to having basically other humans define what evil is, and that seems to be their gripe. Most of the time what they're saying is, oh, some other person is going to say this or that is evil because it's a way of jockeying for political power. And I believe that actually does happen. I'm not in denial.
Well, even that. What's that guy does all that? That churchy guy does all the speaking on campuses. The young guy, Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk. When he gets on there, he starts talking about how we should ban alcohol and ban weed because look how much damage it causes. Well, you just have free will. You can't take something away from an adult because some other idiot doesn't have enough self-control not to damage themselves. Now, some things that are
like
deadly.
Some of Charlie Kirk's. Go ahead.
He's got some of those evangelical ideas where the government's supposed to be controlling your morality. I don't like that shit. That's stupid. It's called free will. I don't like
theology either, like in the sense of a theocratic government. I don't want to.
Because all those people are breaking all those laws themselves, and then they're coming down on you, and it's.
It's good for thee, not for me. And ultimately, I like Charlie Kirk. He's done a lot of positives, but I don't like hearing how I don't. He's a political commentator, and I think that he should have that either separated out and do 2 different types of shows, or he should just stick to one thing. which is
The
politics.
Christians,
Which is
because he's supposed to be a Christian. I agree with you, because if he's supposed to be a Christian, you're supposed to have you're supposed to be granting people free will. And if you're using the hammer of government to change people's morality, and what you're doing then
no
is
different than what the Chinese do.
yes, and then he he's the arbitrator of what you can and can't put in your body, and
Yes.
he is not qualified for that. I listened to him talk. He's okay, he's
not
no
very
expert.
bright. Yeah, he's very thoroughly versed in the things that he covers. But if somebody comes up with something, and a lot of times he loses and he'll label it as a win. He'll come up against somebody, and then he just basically, when he starts to lose, tell him, "Thank you very much. It was good talking to you." He's okay. I like that he went out to the college campuses and talked to young people, and that he's helped make one of the most conservative generations, upcoming generations out there. But I don't think the reality is there isn't anyone out there who is all knowing enough to be able to make all the proper decisions. It doesn't matter how good of a person they are, that they can make every decision for every person in every situation. It's ridiculous.
Like Thomas Jefferson said, he said, basically, where are these angels who can make these decisions for us? All we have is sinful men making decisions, and or women, and there's no angels making laws.
Right, and even then, angels have fallen. So it's very much best to have the decision making out on the edges, where the rubber meets the road, versus some authoritarian, no matter how benevolent they are, in some far off office making decisions for people. To me, that's one of hubris is one of the worst sins. Everybody who gets into power thinks that they know best. That's the first sign that you're fucked up. If you're that's the first.
That's why that saying, though, the road to perdition is paved on good intentions. All you need is have a little bit of momentum behind you, thinking that you're right and you're doing the right thing for everyone else. And the first thing you know, everyone's in internment camps.
Well, that's even when we look at what happened, the fallout between Trump and Elon. That's exactly what happened there. Is Elon started getting this idea that he knew best for everybody, and then next thing you know, he's punching people in the face in the office because he doesn't agree with them. There is no way for anyone.
A little hubris, perhaps, just a little hubris, just a little bit.
Yeah, and there's no way for anybody to make a decision really for anyone else. You can offer choices, and you can, but as soon as you are in the situation where you're trying to force something on somebody, you can be guaranteed that you're in the wrong. Not even your intention, but that it's just the methodology. And so, for me, there is some room to accept that some of what we see as good and evil is a subjective construct that, because at one point slavery was considered okay for 2,000 or 3,000 years of human existence. It was just the norm and everyone accepted it. And then now it's considered evil. It's obvious.
Fundamentally, it was evil, and it was what it was is that these people thought they were superior, and that they were allowed to own people, and that wasn't just white people. I mean, there was black slave owners here too, and I have money.
The majority of slavery is brown
I have
people.
money. Yeah, I have money, therefore I should be allowed to own people. Of course, that started a lot in the Roman times. Half the people in there.
Yeah, it goes. The Hebrews were slaves. The Babylonians, they had slaves.
Percentage-wise, Israel and India have the highest slave rates
right now.
Yep.
Well, anyways, I
India's
didn't
the
hear about
worst.
Israel.
India's the worst. Yeah, Israel
I've
has
heard
us.
India is terrible. I heard that Africa was the second worst.
Well, I don't think they keep track of the Africans as much, but if they did, they probably would be high too, because they enslave each other all the time. One tribe next hates the next tribe over.
Even the word slave is a perversion of the word Slav, and Slavs are blonde-haired, blue-eyed people, and the freaking word slave comes from them. And so the idea of that racism and slavery and the evils of slavery are strictly the white race. The reality is it's just the opposite. We're the least slaving. And we were also the West, the white people were the only people to throw it off willingly.
And Great Britain was first and we were second. Yeah. Great Britain was first and we were second.
And so a bunch of lily white Anglo-Saxon barbarians with blonde hair and red hair threw off the shackles of slavery for everybody else. They were in charge.
Because a large percentage of them were enslaved themselves, especially the Irish. They were indentured servants, which is, well, that's completely different. No, they owned you. When you were indentured, they could kill you or do whatever they wanted with you.
And so basically the idea of good and evil and moral choice and all that stuff can be somewhat subjective, but ultimately however you define it is it comes down to that it seems to be, in my opinion, a necessary part of it's almost like having a polar opposites. We talked about in our last thing how the universe was possibly created on these interference patterns between various opposing forces. I see this as just an extension of that, and I would argue that because I have a belief that consciousness is the material that all things evolve out of, and that the God is the first consciousness, and that he had to segment himself into polar opposites of unconsciousness and consciousness in order, and then basically the ever increasing variety of different fragmentations between these polar opposites of, let's say, good and bad, light and dark, as you could just go on through the whole list, positive and negative, good and bad are the things that actually constructed the 3D space, matter, antimatter, the whole, you just go through the whole list.
Well, that's what I don't think our reality is constructed of evil and good. I think that is something weird.
Not the only. That's not the only thing it's made out of.
But I don't think that's what makes us up. We're not. This is our makeup. We're evil and good. Now I think we're supposed to be overcoming the negative of the universe and overcoming what's false, so that we can become, for lack of a better term, have more discernment and enlightenment, so we can understand how reality works, and that's part of our job. So I think there are hard, fast rules of what doesn't work and what does work. We might not understand them, we might not agree on them, but it doesn't matter if you don't agree. Reality is reality, and we might. These people always thinking about, well, what's in people's heads. Is what in your head, what you believe in your head, going to change anything? That's the argument that people are using for transhumanism and transgender stuff. Is that I believe I'm a zebra, therefore, in my reality, I'm a zebra. No, you're not. You're still a man. And
there is a subjective reality that you're not a zebra if you're a human being, and people that are doing that, the people are encouraging that are evil. They're committing acts of evil, and the people who are going along with it, in my mind, are nihilistic. And there's a lot of people that just do just totally messed up things to themselves.
It's just basically the communists of the world are pushing this because, as a general rule, the communists are satanic. They believe and they worship a god that is transgender, and they try to destroy a society by taking away from the family and saying that men and women are the same. They've been doing that forever, and the Chinese do it, and other communist countries, whether it doesn't matter what their name is, do the same thing. Socialist communists, and they're usually secular socialists and communists. They're not people who believe in a particular religion. So it's just someone who's trying to destroy things so they can profiteer from the destruction and tear down society.
But and the people that are doing the brainwashing of that is one thing. What I find remarkable is the amount of people, which is people are identifying in the United States. 20% of them are identifying now as LGBTQ plus, and that's men who are chopping off their balls, and those are women who are having their breasts removed to be somebody else.
What percentage of those people actually do that, though? That's what I'm curious.
I think a lot.
If they're doing that, well, that's just, back 20 years ago, they would just been called insane and put in an insane asylum. And now they have these people chopping off their breasts and going around and shooting kids. And
right, and there's it's evil for evil's sake. And these people are so taking this trans shooter that just killed people. He wasn't trying to make a statement. He wasn't trying to get away. He went on this rampage and tried to kill as many people and hurt as many people as he could, and then he offed himself, and that was his plan from the beginning. And that's every one of these kids have done this. And so you got to ask yourself.
Back in biblical times, in times of Jesus, they would have said he was possessed by a demon. And if you look at his old drawings of himself looking in the mirror with horns on him, and he believed he was a demon. Is he insane? Probably. Is he truly possessed by a demon? Maybe not. Probably not.
What do you get out of? So in his mind, he's okay. He thinks of him,
which makes him non-human. He thinks he's non-human, and
he's deliberately cashing out and going to hell.
Mm-hmm. That's a delusional person, 100%. Because if you believe in demons, what do you think? There's going to be a party there for you? There's going to be a party waiting for you when you die? Is that what he thinks? That's crazy shit. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen after you die.
That's exactly right. And yes, so we take a step back from that and we just look at people covering their bodies in tattoos, people piercing every part of their body, people, you've seen the videos of men and women.
Men hating and women hating. Men and women hating each other. Yeah, they hate each other.
Hating themselves. We're talking about the self-destructed.
Mm-hmm.
The men and women hating each other is a little more sensible, and it's not much. I'm not saying it's a great idea, but it at least has some rooting in their existence and their reality. I'm talking about though you take a beautiful woman, they're usually attractive. These people start off good looking. They cover their face in tattoos. They chop off their nose. They dye their eyeballs black. They cover themselves from head to toe in piercings and tattoos. And they can't get jobs. They can't function in society. They can't even drink fucking water without water leaking out of their fucking face because they've punctured their face so much. That's not to the point where this kid was that in these trans shooters, but it's a step, just a hair below that. The level of self-destruction and self-loathing that, say what?
Yeah, self-hatred, yeah.
That you have to possess to torture yourself like that is mind-boggling, and I don't see that as a construction of society. There's something going on there that's really bad, and what's worse is nobody's stepping in to stop it. Nobody in their family, they see these people doing this stuff, and
They
no
are
one's like,
like that because
hey.
their family made them that way.
I know, and so it just goes back to the initial stat that 20% is now identifying this way.
Well,
It's
they got to quit hanging out in the same parties together and doing this, living their stupid double lives where they're corrupting themselves and their children simultaneously, and tattooing themselves and going on these silly what do you call them, sex parties, and leaving their kids at home by themselves with somebody who's abusing them. All the crap that they do, and then they wonder why the kids turn out that way. And then all the kids hang out together and start tattooing themselves because they hate their parents and hate themselves. There's just so much hate there. Of course they're gonna kill kids. They're gonna kill themselves. Killing someone else is no big deal at that point. How did that happen? Are they on psychotropic drugs? Are they on, Prozac? What's going on with that?
I don't know, and that's the thing that I'm saying is that's the real question: is how is this all
And almost
happening?
all of them are lefties. They're all communists doing these things. Did you see that stat that 97% of the gun owners are Republican and 97% of the crimes are by Democrats? Gun crimes? That means 3% of the population. 3% of the population do 97% of the gun crimes, and most of the mass shootings are Democrats.
It's a very scary stat in the sense that when you look at, particularly when you look at the Democrats as a whole, particularly recently, everything they believe in is anti. It's basically evil. They're for
It's anti-life.
collapse. Yeah, and their political future seem to be being diminished by it, and they're still pursuing it. They're pursuing, breaking up the family. They're against men and women having normal relationships. They're against blacks and whites getting along. They're every interaction that you can come up with, and you could be like, oh, there's a good outcome and there's a bad outcome. You find that the left, which for a long time seemed like it was more than 50% of the United States, was pro destruction and pro negative outcome,
pro death cult. Yeah, pro death cult.
And I guess that goes a long ways to, where you're saying that the commies are often, Satanists. It certainly seems to be true here. It is, wherever they go, they get negative outcomes. Any area that they're running, no matter how resource rich it is, like, I mean, California is this fucking amazing state with every imaginable resource it's enough to be a whole country unto itself. Yet every 2 weeks the thing is burning down to the ground. Anytime you see pictures of it, it's a hellscape. Burning hellscape.
And then after everything burns to the ground, then they have a flood and a mudslide, and they never rebuild anything. And well, I mean, LA hasn't been rebuilt, and they've gotten what, like $20 billion to rebuild, and they haven't spent a dime on it, some ridiculous amount. And all Gavin Newsom did is stuff it in his pocket, and these people still don't have homes. Not a single home has been built.
And you're taking supposedly, the people that got all those homes burned down were on their side. Let's say it was the Hollywood elites, and they don't even help support their own people in crisis. I mean, these are their, it's just desserts, I guess, but they're the stars, they're the producers, they're the movie people, and all their homes get burned down. And they're like, fuck it. I mean, it's kind of funny, I guess. That's how.
And not only that, they were paying people to set the fires. So this was not only was it a tragedy because it's a fire, it was arson, and they found out that mayor of L.A. was the one in on it, and why she isn't in jail yet.
Have you looked into that lady? I forget what was her name?
I don't remember, but I know that she's in deep trouble.
My neighbor told me that she was, and I looked it up. It was true. That she was one of these people that was going to Cuba and was part of the Communist Party of Cuba.
Oh, I believe it. I know she's in deep trouble. I don't know what's going on, but there's some sort of investigation with her.
Well, that's to the final argument we could say that there is a fundamental kind of idea of goodness is and obviously everybody's got their own parameters, but enough of the people had seen what was going on over the last 4 or 5 years and they've had enough bad things happen to them that the vast majority of people have switched parties away from the party of Satanism. And you could argue again that is actually the whole point of evil is to teach people what good is. And that certainly played out here in the United States. And it's basically playing out in Europe. I just read that Germany's basically in complete collapse.
Did you hear what they just did there? It was disgusting. Their new party, their MAGA party, 7 of their head politicians were murdered.
Died in the same day. Yeah. Yep. And it's people don't really understand what happened in Nazi Germany. It's been diluted and watered down, but every so often there is this it's happened here in the United States as well several times is there is a rise for a lack for a better word, a rise in the dark side, and then the light has to kind of rise up and meet it. It happens over and over again. I don't know why the light side is so lazy. It seems to, as soon as it wins, it's like, okay, well, it's time to go take a nap for about 70 years.
That's been a saying throughout history, is that anytime you need a hero, he won't show up until there's a problem. Most people aren't like Donald Trump, and they'll be out there running around with their hair on fire when there's no emergency.
Well, he didn't show up.
He's unique.
He didn't show up until.
He showed up as a president. Yeah, he showed up as a president, but he also was doing that kind of stuff his whole life. He's basically, and he kept repeating the same thing over and over again until we understood it. Like, hey, we're getting ripped off. We're paying too much. The whole world, the world's, piggy bank. Our trade deals are awful.
There was a lot of people that said that as well. But he was the only one that, when push came to shove, was willing to take the slings and arrows. That's the amazing thing, and fundamentally, he's a completely different person than he was even a decade ago.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he became good. He was very mediocre, very selfish, very shallow. I mean, did he do some things that, like somebody changed his tire, gave him $150,000 or something like that? Those are all tax write-offs. They were nice and they're good publicity stunts, but it wasn't until he got debanked, they shot him in the head, they banged over all of his businesses for 4 or 5 years, threatened his children, and threw grandma down the well. Wasn't until all those things happened that he became a good person. And again, that's my whole argument for why there is evil, and my fundamental argument for why God would invent it is that he that's the only way to make people grow.
It's a definite stimulus. You know how you can make sure that someone never progresses and becomes a better spiritual person? Make them rich and give make them rich and give them everything. And that is one of the greatest tricks of the like people in Hollywood and stuff is they're so pampered that there's no way they're going to change. They have no impetus. The ones that do change, it's very rare, but they're 1 in 100 change, and we all know who they are in Hollywood. You know, we see them all the time.
And let's take one of the ones that changed that I think we'll both agree has come around is Mel Gibson. He came around when they took everything from him, when they humiliated him, and they took away all his money, and they made him broke, and took away his houses, and took away all the cars, and it took away all the parties and all the popularity, and embarrassed him in public and made him a joke. When they dragged him through the mud long enough, then he stood up and was like, I have nothing. I got nothing. And then he realized from that whatever he realized to be a good, I can't speak for him, but I came out of that realizing, hey, none of this matters to me anymore. I'm just going to do what I think is right. And now he does. But he probably started off as not such a nice guy.
Well, sin and evil have a function. Their function is to punish you. And that's how it works. And if you're not being punished for evil, then you're definitely on the side of the evil. He's helping you out. But if you're a person with a halfway decent heart and you evil things, you're going to be punished. You're just going to be. I mean, it's just going to happen, and it's part of life. And you're also going to be punished for no reason, just because you're good. And things like happen, like you won't get a job, or they won't hire you, or they're a DEI or whatever. They'll have a reason not to hire you, and those things will happen.
The reason for that is that evil has ascended.
It has ascended, but it's reached its peak and it's waning now. And that's what I see, and it's losing. Look at Cracker Barrel. I mean, that's evil incarnate, and it's screwed. They don't have a single fucking customer left.
Well, they've gone back and gotten back the old logos and shit.
But the food is still bad. Their food is so bad that they go there and it's all frozen food now. They don't even give them fresh food anymore. They didn't even bake the biscuits. They have them cooked like for a month, and then they freeze them and heat them up in a microwave and give them to people. I mean, that's what they were doing, and everyone was complaining that food tastes like crap. Yeah.
I haven't been to Cracker Barrel in a long time, but I used to like going
there. Their food was always okay, but it wasn't bad. I mean, they had good biscuits and stuff, and some of their dishes were very filling and large. Country cooking. But now it's run by Taco Bell. That's the ex-CEO of Taco Bell, which I was never a fan of Taco Bell. I'll be honest.
No,
I never really ate there.
You could be.
I mean, they had stuff that approximated what meat should taste like, but it wasn't actually meat. And no, that was actually the lowest grade meat that is. It's lower than the stuff they put in sausage.
Well,
does that shock you? I mean, you ate sausage.
No, no. I only like homemade sausage. If it's made by somebody, like if it's an Italian deli or like a butcher shop that's making their own sausage, that's okay. What I don't like is when you look like I look at Shell and I sometimes shop together, and I like to look at the labels, and if the label has more than 4 fucking things on it, don't buy it. It looks. I mean, you can't pronounce a single word on it. I mean, I don't.
I look for if it has soybean oil in it. It has what is it?
Well, that's everything.
Nitrates. And what is the other thing they put in? What is that flavor enhancer that the Chinese use?
MSG.
MSG. If it almost every single freaking sausage has that in it, and MSG makes me sick. So I get a headache from it. I don't want it. It's considered a neurotoxin. What it does is it increases your receptors and your cells in your brain and in your mouth to overreact to the flavors. So basically, that way they can put less ingredients in it. It fools you into it's tasting better. They're basically giving you chemicals to stimulate your brain so you fooled into thinking you're eating food. Right. And they're okay with that.
That's the run-of-the-mill shit nowadays, Tony. But like if I was to get a sausage, and I know this is way off good and evil, but shitty
Not
sausage
really.
is evil. Shitty sausage is pure evil. But if you can get like, I love sausage. Like if you can, like there's a pizza place around here. I think it's called Valentino's, and they have they don't have the little nuggets of sausage. Mm-hmm. They take a like a spicy Italian sausage and chop it up, and they put it on, and you can tell it's a New York chain that brings down its stuff from New York. It's a much higher quality sausage, and you can both in the texture of how it feels on your tongue and how it tastes. I don't know if it's got a lot of chemicals in it, but I like good sausage if you can get it. It's just you can't get it. I mean, you got to pay like $80 for decent sausage.
You want to make a lot of money? Make mayonnaise that doesn't have soybean oil in it, and it's made out of eggs, and it makes sausage without MSG. If you do those two things, you'll be making bank.
Well, we should do it. It's not like we got something else going on. You just need to move back here. What are you gonna do up there besides fucking grow fruit trees?
Well, I got a few of them. I'm gonna have to actually get rid of some of them because I got too many.
The the main point though that we've been talking about, I guess, in closing, is do we believe, I guess, is good and evil a fundamental natural law? And I'm not saying there isn't external circumstances that can be modified by man, but I think the ultimate, in my opinion, the ultimate answer is yes, that good and evil is a fundamental law. It's hard to measure it, but it seems like you can't have a universe without having those two choices. I mean, there's no point to living at all. And so, in my opinion, go ahead.
Well, I agree, and basically, when you're introducing good and evil, and from a biblical standpoint, it's basically Satan provides an infrastructure for you to have your decisions, and decisions are necessary for you to grow, because we're in a fallen state and we cannot discern between good and evil without actually working at it real freaking hard. And some things are blatantly obvious, you don't murder your family members. I mean, stuff like that. Everyone knows that. And that's universal. Some of the other things are just political, sociological norms, like, you should wear dresses, and women should wear dresses, men should wear pants.
I don't think those should be considered in the same, and that's not what I'm talking about. They're like anything.
No, and that's what I'm saying.
That
yeah, that's just social norms. What I'm talking about is just pure evil and pure good. I mean, there are things that are just good. I mean, raising children properly is good, whatever that means. And,
well, the pursuit of raising children properly, it's impossible to know how they're going to turn out. But is your intention to raise them? Are you sacrificing for them?
That's the definition of love, is sacrificing for other people.
And if good and evil
emotionally and go ahead.
if good and evil is just about being a fundamental law, that would be how I would break it down. Is if you're sacrificing for others and doing something for the whole over yourself, and you're giving of yourself, generally that's going to be viewed as good. And if everything you're doing, like we were saying before, is you're sacrificing the whole for you, like many politicians are doing currently, that is definitely evil. And those are really the fundamental.
You can take it one step further and say, are you doing things to benefit others? Are you doing things for other people so that people will like you? You want notoriety. You want people to say, wow, what a good person that is. And then basically you're feeding your ego again. You're not doing it for the other person. And motives do matter. If you're doing things for people like your children, you expect nothing back. That's sacrifice. If you're doing it as an investment, it's not a sacrifice. And some people don't understand that. And oh yeah, well, I did something for somebody. When am I going to get it back? And I used to be married to someone like that. And yeah, everything was profit and loss. Her relationships and everything. It was really, really hard to wrap your head around her worldview. But
it's really
that's all I have to say.
It's not that hard to wrap your mind around. It's just hard to live that way.
Yes, it's hard to live around someone who's like that. Very bizarre.
Well, ultimately, I think that when you're in that particular case, that really is just narcissism, is what you're describing. But
yes,
and it's unfortunately much more common than these days. There's a lot of people around, but it's not hard to grasp. They're just assholes. They're just selfish assholes, and technically, people that behave that way are evil. Obviously, there's a spectrum of how evil they are. But I see all the time. I like to watch Jordan Peterson, and he talks about narcissistic behavior and how it functions and what happens. And with that typical person, everything that they're doing is they view everybody as a transaction to support their system. And their children, their husbands or wives, or significant others, or friends. And as soon as you cease to fill that role for them, you implode. Your relationship with them implodes. Is they end up hating and resenting you and blaming you for everything. And if you get in a relationship with somebody and everything that has happened is not their fault but your fault and their mind, you really shouldn't.
Well, what I found is those people, they know better. They know it's not they know that it's their fault, but they don't want to take blame for it because they'll be in a weaker position, because they're always about positioning so they can manipulate. And
yeah, it's about managing the appearance. If you're around somebody that all they're doing is managing the appearance and how it looks to others all the time, you're in deep shit. If your relationship is solely built on them trying to position themselves to, mom was kind of like this, or my mother, where she didn't give a shit about what people thought inside the house. It was all external. There's no way to win. There's no way to win that. There's a good outcome for you. If all they care about is what people think about them, and the external people, and they want to get attention from the external people, and their significant others and their kids are lesser importance, then there's really no hope. People make it work, but there's no hope long term. No. And ultimately, that's going to hollow out the person who gives a shit. And so, and that's
what did Jordan Peterson say? Yeah, Jordan Peterson says when you basically encounter malevolence,
I
and that's
sent
what
you
that is. That's
actually I sent you a video, I think, to your phone, which was specifically on this topic, I think yesterday.
I haven't looked at it yet, but I did. He has talked about people don't have post traumatic stress disorder from war. They don't have post traumatic stress disorder from injuries. They have post traumatic stress disorder from malevolence, from people. They can't believe how evil some people are that they're facing, and that has psychologically traumatizes average people because they're not used to dealing with sociopathic, malevolent, just pure evil behavior. And a lot of times you see that in war. They're not scared about being shot or being run over. They're scared about the people on the other side are completely soulless, or people within their own group are soulless. And that is what ruins their psyche if they have a normal
Right.
one. And a lot of people like who are in the Navy SEALs and stuff like that, they do not have a normal psyche, and they select them
No,
that way.
and we've encountered a couple
Yeah,
like
we've
that
encountered friends.
over.
I had friends like that. I had friends. I was actually friends with them, and I had people work for me like that. And I worked for some people like that, and they were very transactional too. Though, as soon as you didn't fit in a function that they wanted you to do, then you were gone, and they just dismissed you. And I wasn't impressed. Uh, and I know that they're all in vogue now. They're the most wonderful things on earth, according to the internet. But I've worked with enough of them. Most of them a lot of them are really psychologically screwed up and impossible to deal with.
Sure. I found that to be also true.
And when they're in the
I
regular world, they have a really hard time dealing with reality because they want to be out there with their hair on fire, driving $1 million pieces of equipment. And when they get back home, they can only be a bartender. And so then they go on these tours about, hey, I'm a Navy SEAL. Look at me. Well, that's great. You and how many thousands of others have done the same thing.
did you get the I sent you a new headshot. Did you get it?
Yeah, you told me about it. I haven't looked at it. I've been really working hard. I had a couple of
I
interviews
sent it
today
to
and
you
stuff.
yesterday.
Uh-oh, it's saying I'm running out of power here. Hold on. There we go.
Anyways, I sent you a.
Is it on my
I
phone or
reworked.
is it in my mail?
It's in your phone.
You don't look at anything on my phone. My
That's
phone is broken. That's my phone looks like this. Yeah.
maybe it's time to upgrade. I mean, maybe.
I mean, I
Maybe
spent
it's
$50 on this phone. I'm not upgrading.
wow. I didn't know you could get a phone that cheap.
And they
Okay,
function
well,
nearly as good as expensive ones too.
yeah, I'm sure. So I guess my closing thing was uh, good to evil, absolute relative, or dueling forces. What do you guys think? Um, and there's some other babbling stuff, but I don't feel like reading it here because we already covered it. I guess in the final analysis, I believe that it's a fundamental absolute with some stuff that human beings tack on.
Yeah, some
You know,
caveats
that's
where people's
uh,
psychological preferences.
yes, but ultimately, I feel like that you don't have a real universe if you do not have the interaction between um for humans. You don't have anything for humans to do if there isn't options, and if all the options were just absolutely marvelous, I don't think people would have any incentive to do anything. And so the evil
It'd
is
be hard to be
a
a hero
necessary.
that way. You can't be a
Yes,
hero without evil.
yes. There's no Donald Trump without Nancy Pelosi.
That is correct.
Good and negative good. There's no Donald
I
Trump
just
without Hillary Clinton.
I just don't want to be, Hillary Clinton. I want to be Donald Trump.
Well, what's funny is she doesn't want to be you either.
I know.
So, or me. I mean,
she likes being a malignant, a malignant demon that she is. She likes being it. Yeah.
Yes. I hope she gets her up. I hope they get her before she croaks. I'd be very disappointed if she just dies peacefully.
Well, Bill is now in the hospital, hooked up their equipment, dying. Just before they're gonna show the world what he did, he wants to take the exit ramp before they expose what a big perv he was. We already know it. I mean, who cares? Who's he exposing it to? We already know. I mean, his whole life has been about that.
It's never been proven, and so he has plausible deniability. But if it actually came out where the people that supported him, where they feel humiliated, which is what it ultimately comes down to, is these people, as long as they have their support system supporting them and believing in them, and the common man that supports them hasn't been dragged through the mud with them, then, because that's what ultimately happens when these things get exposed, is all the people that were on their side end up looking like fucking filthy pieces of shit, which they are, and then when that happens, that internal hatred that they've been directing at us ends up being directed at these people, and that is the ultimate victory for us.
Yes, they usually eat their own. They have to eat somebody, so they just, if it's not us, it'll be their own.
Yeah, I just want to be there, turning the spit for them. Here's some salt for Bill.
Yeah, he's trying to. He's going like No Name. No Name was, right?
Oh, I heard the mythological statements there, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah. The mythological statements was that he was,
I know what they are. You've told me, you and I have talked.
It was an 86. It was 86. Yeah, that's what we hear. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. And where this channel doesn't have any strikes yet, and I'm just trying to fucking keep it that way. This channel with 11 people is outperforming my channel with 1,200.
Makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense. So,
well, I guess that's it. It's getting towards 10, 11 your time.
Yes. So everybody, I feel like we got 9 viewers, 9 people watching us live, which usually we get about 3.
We usually get 9 total. Yes.
Even the last one I think is up to 30 now.
Oh, good.
It was just a hard weekend. That was a hard weekend.
It was. I didn't have anybody look at my stuff on X either. So.
Everyone. If everyone's like, hey, like, we should forget about 4th of July, Christmas, Turkey Day, Easter. Those things are never going to be good live shows. You know what? We should do it on Easter Sunday
at noontime when everyone's at church. Yeah.
I don't know. So anyway,
the people that go to church once a year, that's when they're there.
Yeah. Well, like, speaking of which, when I went to church this Easter, it was like standing room. The church I went to.
Oh, it was a Catholic church?
Yeah.
The Catholic church.
I've been there the year before.
People show up once a year. Yeah. Christmas and Easter.
Year before, and it wasn't like this year for some reason. We set records. It was just crazy. I mean,
well, all the Orthodox churches that I've gone to are all growing like exponentially. Even when I was there a year ago, they've doubled in size to the point where they're going to have to invest in new churches. And the Orthodox don't really want to invest in churches. They're not like Baptists and stuff. So they, they're standing room only just for a regular service now.
Well, we'll be back on Friday. And in the meantime, if you could like and subscribe and leave a comment on how we're wrong about good and evil and what your theories were, you know, click the thumbs up. Make sure to belittle my brother. He deserves it.
I can take it.
He's always wrong.
I believe in what I believe.
And we'll see you Friday. And check your. You want me to send it to your email now?
Yeah, please. Send me the link here with something. It should work. A lot of times I'll take the link and put it over.
I sent it to your phone, but I'll email it to you.
Okay.
Here, I'll email it to you.
Because I like the what do you call it? The stamp, the thumbprint. What do you call it? Thumbnail.
Well, I worked hard on this thumbnail.
Yeah, because I like those because it helps. It doubles the amount of views we get when I use a good thumbnail.
Okay.
On X.
I'll send it to you in a bit. All right, I'll see you soon.
All right. See you later. Good night.
All right.